Hello and welcome back to Planner Becky's channel. It's been a while since we've done this top-down planner kind of thing. Well, not really because we just did a thing with moving my Leuchtturm bullet journal stuff into my plotter bullet journal stuff just a couple of weeks ago. But we haven't really journaled or done some art stuff in our journal since December daily. And not that I haven't done it. As you've seen in the beginning, I did flip through this traveler's notebook insert that I've designated as my media journal. And the reason that I've done this is because I usually track the media that I consume, but I don't really stop to pause and reflect on why a piece is touching to me or why something resonates with me. And I had such a strong feeling to do that after watching the morning show, which I journaled a little bit about in the December daily because even though I started watching season 1 during December daily, I continued to watch season 2, and season 2 was just so much more impactful to me that I couldn't stop thinking about it, mainly because of a couple of characters' storyline, primarily Laura Peterson's, if you watch the show. So I wanted to remember it. I wanted to record a feeling, and it's something that I've also been reading about a lot. So I mentioned in previous videos that I'm reading this book, or I finished reading this book called Building a Second Brain, and it talks about how you would like to record not just notes, but you should record feelings, because you can always find a statistic on what's the population of any given geography whenever, but you can't Google a feeling. So this is really what I wanted to do, is I wanted to start recording my feelings a little bit more, and I don't want to just do it in text form, although having to draw it in actually prevented me from journaling here for a very long time because I was a bit lazy to actually put some drawings in it. But I also knew for future reference, seeing these drawings would actually be a lot quicker for me to record it versus just reading and skimming through text, which I end up recording as well, as in I ended up journaling with text because I can't just depict everything in pictures because there's just a lot going on and I do think a lot in words. So I decided that I would start doodling in my journal. Oh, and also I could easily print these stuff out, but I don't really want to, because even these little doodles I think is good practice if I want to develop my art skills and get to know my supplies a little bit more. This is kind of a low pressure way for me to still have fun with my art and not be focused on making a really nice sellable painting or a sketch that I must learn something from and I must extract knowledge from. So this is a low pressure way to do it, and I decided that I would just keep doodling. A couple of stuff that I watch and you see me make in this video. The first is the musical Matilda. My thoughts on this is generally I don't watch musical movies because I always feel watching the stage adaptation, especially when the storyline is made to be for a stage, they're usually a lot more magical. I heard a lot about Wicked and how Wicked is such a good musical, and I didn't want to watch the bootleg, or I didn't even want to Google what the plot was about, because just capturing everything in that one moment when you're just immersed in 2-3 hours of beautiful stage performance and songs and theatrics, I think it's just one of those moments that I really treasure. And there are very little moments in my life that reach that magical pinnacle point, and I feel watching a musical for the very first time in person, it always gives me that feeling. So I really don't like to watch musical movies, but my partner watched this musical before and she's very in love with it, so we decided to watch this movie together, and it was great. She did say though that the real life musical was better, which I mean it always is, but I thought the movie, as someone who didn't really watch the musical before, I thought the movie was really great actually. There's a lot of really cute moments and really magical stuff. It's the same plotline as the book, except I read the book maybe 15 years ago, so I don't even remember what the plot is about. but there are some magic stuff involved, like magical powers and floating things. And I think these are things that you can emulate in a stage, but it's really hard to emulate something levitating. So I think a movie and CGI was probably not a bad way for me to consume Matilda the musical for the very first time. And then what you see on the right page is no less magical than Matilda. It is one of my favorite movies, Encanto. And this is because I am absolutely in love with Lin-Manuel Miranda's like works, all of it. Hamilton, In the Heights, and also Moana. Moana's the movie, right? Or is there some other movie? No, I think it is called Moana. I love all of the songs that he creates, and Encanto is so special. I think because it's kind of funny how like everyone kind of relates to a different character in the movie. And I feel like I relate the most to Bruno, because I always feel like maybe the black sheep of the family or something. But it's such a wonderful musical, and I'm always so enchanted. Well, I guess that's literally the title of the movie, right? By the songs and everything, and the choreography and the magic of it, and like how Dos Oruguitas always just like hits you in the kokoro, like always. Especially when it's sung like the Spanish version and not the English version. It's just like, oh my gosh. The whole movie is magical, and if I recall correctly, I think because this whole movie was made during COVID, this performance that they did live in Hollywood Bowl was actually the first time that the whole cast got to be together and sing together. It's just also like so wild to see Rosa Diaz just singing and being the main protagonist of the story, being the really cheery and quirky like Mirabel. And it's just so fun to watch. I think I didn't plan to like really watch it. I was like, oh, you know what, it's a performance, I can probably like grab my sketchbook and do a little bit of doodling while I watch it. But I don't know, it was just so magical, and they made the whole stage into like a real life enchanted like casita. And while Lin was giving the intro, the whole like stage just like came to life when he stepped on the floor and everything. And I think Disney just really knows how to put on a show. And if you guys haven't watched it, it's on Disney Plus. Not that I'm promoting the streaming service or anything, but if you happen to have that streaming service already, it's I think about like an hour 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. Like they just go through all of the songs, not a lot of dialogue, like it's more so of a concert. It was great. Kind of expected We Don't Talk About Bruno to be a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more, but I mean, I was really quite impressed by it. I actually watched a similar performance of We Don't Talk About Bruno in Disneyland Hong Kong, where they had a special show, I think, for the kids, and it's just such a catchy song. Watching Disney songs live in concert is always awesome. Flipping through the next page, I watched Wakanda Forever recently, also because it just landed on the streaming service Disney Plus. Oh my gosh, this seems like Disney Plus focus. It's not, I promise. Because it landed on Disney Plus, I think like a couple of weeks ago, me and my colleagues, like we all watched it. It was kind of funny because when we went to the office, or when I went to the office and we were talking about like what we did over the weekend, I was like, oh, we watched Wakanda Forever because it landed on Disney Plus. And then everyone else was like, yep, we only watched it like the week before too. And I kind of thought that everyone would have watched it in the cinemas. Like I planned to watch it in the cinemas, but I think in Hong Kong it landed maybe around the holiday time or like slightly before. And by that point, because Hong Kong had just like suddenly opened up to the world with like no quarantine and everything, everyone's minds was not on watching a movie. Everyone was focused on like planning their trips, and a lot of people actually did go out of town during the Christmas holidays and also the Lunar New Year holidays. I think people were just like taking turns. So didn't manage to catch this movie in the cinema, and also struggled a lot drawing this in my journal. But oh my goodness, the beginning scene and their like montage and dedication to Chadwick Boseman, like I was teary and crying even before like the movie started. Well, I guess because it's all like the opening scenes and everything. And I think what impacted me the most was when that Marvel title scene or that title animation, and usually they put in like all the Avengers and all the different like heroes, But this one, they just put like all scenes of Chadwick Boseman and like his like Black Panther fights, and it was just like, oh my goodness. It was a journey. It was a very emotional scene, especially with like the funeral and everything. And this movie was great. I have to say the wow factor is definitely stronger in the first one. Black Panther is like extra special to me because it's actually the first Marvel movie I've ever watched, because by the time I decided to get into the Marvel movies, there was just such a continuum and I didn't even know where to begin. So when Black Panther dropped, and it was like the first Marvel movie in a very long time that wasn't like entangled or with the other movies or didn't require a backstory, I just jumped and I went for it. I remember I was actually watching the first movie alone in the cinema because I wanted to experience it so bad. And I'm so glad that I did. So the sequel is also special to me. It's kind of interesting. I thought that they would have more of an Avengers tie-up, but maybe they just also want to isolate this movie similar to the first one. And then on the right hand side is also another like favorite musical of mine, which watched recently with a friend, like the bootleg version for the third time. But it's such a good musical. Like, I can't wait to see this musical live. Hopefully this year I'll get a chance to see it live. It will definitely involve travel because I don't foresee this musical coming to Hong Kong anytime soon. But essentially it's like a 1-hour concert of King Henry VIII's 6 ex-wives, and it's just like very girl powery. It's a very concert vibes. So it's like a really short musical. It's like an hour. If you're into like Hamilton, this is really, really great because it's like historical musical kind of vibe. Alright, that's gonna be it from me today. Thank you so much for joining me on my media journaling session, which took over an hour. So this is really the magic of editing and speeding things up. Maybe if you guys like this kind of content, like let me know. I know I'm very chatty with these. But always happy to kind of share a little bit of my process. Like, of course, when I journal, I don't share 100% of everything. Like, there's some journaling stuff that I will never, ever, ever show anyone. But these kind of media journal is kind of light because I love to document a little bit of what I consume and process it that way. Actually, by the time of recording, I've already finished listening to a book called Little Fires Everywhere. Very late to the game, I know. But yeah, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and journal that in. Alright, thanks again for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!